Hello. So those of you that don't know me, I'm Art Falco, President and CEO of PlayhouseSquare. And I want to welcome you to this celebration honoring some very special people in this magnificent history of PlayhouseSquare. We call them our visionaries, and later you'll understand why. Before we honor their work, I'd like to take a few minutes to update you on the results and successes of this past year. So very briefly, in our stage area, we've had 950 performances, and our attendance is going to reach 1 million people again this year. Our most popular known series is our Broadway series, and we surpassed 20,000 subscribers, which was slightly less than last year, but still one of the largest in the country, and I think we are very proud of that. But that's it. However, on a more positive note, we have right now, with our current season coming up, we have just surpassed 22,000 subscribers, and we're within 1,500 seats of hitting our all-time record, which was in 2003, 2004. So with 6 months to go, we have high hopes that we're going to surpass that goal. In terms, thanks. I'll never get off if you keep applauding. In our children's theater, we sold out for a third consecutive year with 1,800 season tickets, and we're on pace with this next season to sell out again. Again, we're really pleased with that. In community engagement and education, our Partners in Performance program, which is a program where we partner with various school districts where we are able to subsidize at least a portion of their transportation costs. That program started with the Cleveland Municipal School District 8 years ago, and this past year we had 32 school districts. So it's something we're really proud of, and with the challenges with the schools and funding, and we know that we're going to have to spend and subsidize those transportation costs at a greater level. We just completed our third annual International Children's Festival, where we had an attendance of 20,000 guests. Our school performances included 8,000 students, so if you were in PlayhouseSquare, you saw these school buses continuously, and that was a 15% increase from the year before. And then on our public performances, which were Friday and Saturday, we had 12,000 children and adults. We had performances by companies from 5 countries, and one company had performers representing another 7 countries. So it really was a great International Children's Festival. On a sad note, we lost our Vice President for Community Engagement and Education, Colleen Porter, who battled a very short battle of lung cancer. And Colleen was our inspiration. She was the developer of many of these programs. But please know that we are going to continue her legacy in all of these areas, and we're now about to start a search for a replacement. She's irreplaceable, but we're going to take all of her great characteristics and try and find someone that's close. In area development, we had a successful opening of the Colin Hubbard restaurant. Hopefully many of you, or maybe all of you, have been there. Raise your hand if you have been to the Colin Hubbard restaurant. Great. Well, it's been a great success so far for the first 4 months. It's exactly the type of restaurant we wanted, a destination restaurant that has its own clientele. Zach Brule, we think, is the best chef in town. And so if you're going to the theater or not going to the theater, the restaurant is full. And so we're really pleased with that. We just recently opened Alex Bistro, which was the old Hannah Deli in the Hannah building, another upgrade to what was there before. And then there are more announcements soon of other restaurants that are going to be coming into the district as we continue to not necessarily add more restaurant seats, but just increase the quality level. And so that's one of our initiatives. We are developing portals and a wayfinding plan. We're trying to create this incredible, iconic structure that represents PlayhouseSquare so that you know that you're in the theater district with LED lights and expanded video boards. So stay tuned on that. We actually have sort of a world-class designer who's here with us tonight. So after this, you might see me out on the street as we're taking a look at what we want to see done in the future. We have a residential project. The Hannah Annex is being converted to 102 apartments in partnership with K&D, which is the largest apartment developer in town. So we've moved or are moving all of those companies that are in the Hannah Annex into the main Hannah building. That is about to begin within the next 2 to 3 months, scheduled to open in 2013. And of the 102 apartments, we have 30 reservations already. Considering there's no prototype or no model suite, I think it's incredible. In terms of the Allen Theater, and hopefully you've seen the new and improved Allen Theater. So we've had a successful completion of those 3 theaters, the modified Allen, the second stage theater, and what we call the Helen, the lab theater. It was done on time, on budget. We have a capital campaign of $32 million. We are at a little over 29, so we have $3 million to go. Michelle Stewart is over here. If anyone feels that they would love to have their name on something, we still have opportunities available. We welcome the Cleveland Playhouse and Cleveland State's Theater Program as new resident companies, and it's been really, really successful. The Playhouse's first season, they saw a 150% increase in single ticket sales and an increase of 85% in single ticket sales from West Side residents. So their idea of moving downtown was really a smart move. They did see a small decline in their season ticket holders, which they anticipated, and so their goal this next year is to start reaching some of those single ticket buyers, and hopefully maybe a few of those season ticket holders that did not come back may realize that it's only a 3-mile change or move downtown, and they'll come in. The Mid-Aisle building, we had a successful renovation of the 2 floors. Again, on time and on budget, 120,000 square feet. All of Cleveland State's arts programs moved into the Mid-Aisle building, as well as the production and administrative offices for the Playhouse, rehearsal halls for both, costume and storage design for both, and that means that over 500 students and faculty are in the theater district on a daily basis. So that, again, has been a great success. And just seeing the energy of all of these young people walking the street is something that we'd just love to see and we want to see more of. And then finally, as my board likes to hear this, we will balance our budget for the 24th consecutive year. So these are just some of the highlights. We look forward to reporting back to you on many more as we continue to move PlayhouseSquare forward. And now, I'd like to tell you a story about civic pride, hard work, passion, and a bit of luck, and something just a little crazy. It's a story about believing and dreaming, and of people who made their dream a reality, even when the odds were against them. It sounds like a little fairy tale, right? Well, this is a fairy tale that's come true. Like all fairy tales, it started so simply. A visit to the abandoned and decrepit theaters by our first visionary spurred the idea that they could be saved. As a Pied Piper of sorts, with an outgoing personality, he set about convincing others that denying demolition could transform downtown Cleveland. So he set about finding the followers to help back his plan. And our second visionary did just that. She was a great civic leader who gave countless hours in helping the Piper by growing the support of others, and with her husband, making a significant financial commitment. With unwavering passion, they convinced others to join them, and the dream grew. At this point in time, Cleveland rolled up its sidewalks early, sending suburbanites out of the city. Our two visionaries knew that a cabaret show performed in the lobby of one of the theaters was the spark that could entice people to visit downtown again. And so they found two more individuals with immense creative talent and spirit to join them on their journey. These new additions were able to create a production that could speak to the heart of the people. The spark ignited the flame of a 2.5-year engagement, which brought tens of thousands to the State Theater lobby, and the dream grew even bigger. Perhaps every fairy tale needs a journalist, because our fifth visionary wrote a piece about the impending demolition of the theaters. As great words often lead to action, his writing tugged on the ears of the business and civic community, and they began to dream too. They saw the possibility of what the theaters could do for the economic development and rebirth of a forsaken downtown. A local community foundation also envisioned renovated spaces for young performing arts organizations. What the Pied Piper began grew into a unique public-private partnership to further develop the project. And 40 years later, that crazy notion of saving the theaters, which many questioned and even ridiculed, the vision that others could not see, resulted in the largest performing arts center in America, outside of Lincoln Center in New York City. From those humble beginnings, PlayhouseSquare now has an annual attendance of 1 million guests and generates well over $60 million for the local economy annually. We're a leader in arts education, which serves children and families to the tune of over 200,000 individuals and families annually, and a real estate developer that owns over 1 million square feet of commercial office space, a hotel, parking garage, and parking lots. PlayhouseSquare today is a real anchor for a critical part of downtown. So wouldn't you agree the fairy tale came true? Only a few people saw the polished gem within broken down, damaged, and virtually useless but historical theaters. Without the visionaries and those who joined later, we wouldn't be here tonight. As clairvoyant as they were, the results have surpassed even their wildest dreams. It wasn't easy and it wasn't fast. It grew slow and steady, rock by rock, until the foundation was solid enough to build upon. And there were countless many who gave their time, energy, creativity, finances, and passion. People like Pudge Henkel, who as a young attorney was able to delay the wrecking ball. The county commissioners who bought the Lowe's building, saving the Ohio and State Theater. Institutions like the Cleveland Foundation that provided substantial funding and still does to create a performing arts center for young performing arts organizations. Cleveland Tomorrow that saw the project for its economic development potential. And there are so many more that have played a part in our success. We have 40 years of history and people we plan to recognize at future events, and we hope you will join us in honoring them at that time. So now we're at the President's Award. The PlayhouseSquare President's Award honors members of the Northeast Ohio community whose leadership, perseverance, and dedication have contributed to the success of PlayhouseSquare. And now, please join me in welcoming our early PlayhouseSquare visionaries to the stage. Would Mrs. Miller, Joe, David, Laney, and Ray come up, please? So William Bill Miller unfortunately passed away 3 years ago. But for 40 years, Bill Miller was Cleveland's most passionate and charismatic journalist. He spent 15 of those years covering the efforts to save our treasured theaters, capturing the heart and soul of our mission. On May 25th, 1972, his front page story in the Plain Dealer announcing the imminent demolition of the state and Ohio theaters galvanized the support of the community, and particularly the support of Elaine Hadden and the Junior League. We remember Bill as a writer, a polka singer, devoted husband and father, our trusted friend and guardian angel of the press. And his widow, Mariana Miller, is with us to accept the award. Marianne.
I would like to thank all of you for this wonderful award. And Bill would be so proud to receive it. He's up there, his spirit somewhere saying, I knew this would happen. I knew I would get it. I knew this would happen. And I wanted to thank both of our sons, Billy from New York who flew in, and Mark from Seattle who flew in. They're right over there. And Bill was so excited, I have to tell you real quick, that when Ray came to Cleveland, if he hadn't come to Cleveland, none of this would happen. He was looking at the theaters. He quit his job, and he met Bill, and Bill got excited, and they were working together. And Ray told him that they were going to make a parking lot out of this. So Bill said, no, they can't do that. And it was persistence, that Bill kept going. And he said, no, we can't do that. Let me see what I can do. So he went to the Plain Dealer. But his beat was downtown. It wasn't the theater beat. So he talked to Peter Bellamy, because in those days, you didn't step into anybody's beat, you know. And Peter said, Bill, you can't fight the developers. They're going to make a parking lot. And Bill said, well, leave it up to me. He said, be my guest. So Bill went back to Ray, and they did this together. And fortunately, it was a very slow day at the Plain Dealer the next day. No big news. Nobody got killed or robbed. So Bill's page, front page, the story of that is going to be a parking lot. So Laney came rushing down with a big check for Ray. And that started going to Cleveland State, where David and Garry had Jug Brow. And together, all of these people started bringing it to I think it was in the State Theater. And we went to, I don't know how many performances, and we took Mark and Billy to all of them. They invited us to everything the first 2 or 3 years. We were always sitting in the fireplace because it was the best view you could have. And they collaborated together, and then all these other wonderful people got on the bandwagon and worked very, very hard until this day. And you people who are here today working together to keep this alive. It was a most wonderful journey that I, Bill, and my children could be part of. And I thank you for this wonderful recognition. I really appreciate it. And Bill had always these wonderful quotes. One of them was, you've got to be persistent. You can't give up. And you know, look what happened. And then another one was, whenever he met someone, he would always say, when they parted, he would always say, we'll be together, my friends. And so I say to you, thank you very much for this wonderful honor. and we'll be together, friends.
Thank you, Mariana. So not only will every honoree get a nice gift, but their nameplate will be in our donor circle, listed in one of the premium seats in the Palace Theater. So Bill, in Bill's memory, he'll be there. Our next honoree, and it's essentially a twosome, Joe Garry and David Frazier. Joe's contributions to the arts community will forever resonate. He started the Cleveland State University Drama Program in 1965 and remained active there until 1994, shaping the hopes, dreams, and careers of many young men and women. It's funny how things come around in circles, in that now we have the Cleveland State Theater Program as resident companies of PlayhouseSquare. Joe directed and cast the historic 2.5-year run of Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris in the lobby of this theater, which served as the spark to an artistic engine that continues to drive PlayhouseSquare. He's now the host of our popular Broadway Buzz pre-show talks, for which we fondly refer to him as America's theater professor. David Frazier. David has collaborated with Joe in life and on stage for more than 40 years, creating 15 original scripts, performing in theaters from New York to Bombay to Budapest, on land and on sea. Often thought to be Jacques Brel, his powerful, spine-tingling delivery of the songs Amsterdam and The Bulls is still remembered by those who sat enthralled at the cabaret tables in the state lobby. David has played more than 150 leading roles and was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Cleveland Playhouse, from which he took a leave of absence to aid in the saving of our theaters. Again, see how things have come around with the Cleveland Playhouse now being resident companies. So it's my pleasure to have David come up first and accept the honor.
Thank you, Art. I am Joe, in case you don't know. I mean, we're always Joe and David and Joe, but in this case, I'm Joe. And can't thank you enough from the bottom of our hearts. I mean, PlayhouseSquare has never been anything but the deepest pleasure to us. I mean, the greatest award of all is standing in the lobby of the State Theater, watching thousands of people pour into the theater, or standing on the street and watching literally thousands of children coming to these spaces. It has touched our heart in the most incredible way. We can only accept this award knowing that it really is symbolic of an award for the whole cast of Jacques Brel. And so I want you to remember, of course, the brilliance of our beloved Providence Hollander, Teresa Pidio, Clifford Bemis, and of course, David Frazier. At the soul of Jacques Brel and our performances was, of course, our brilliant musical director, David Gooding, who is here tonight. David, would you please stand? Thank you, David. David, you are pure gold. And also, what I love about PlayhouseSquare is its incredible continuity. Bob Rohde came from college looking for his first job, and he's still here. He was our beloved stage manager, and long before we had computerized light boards, Bob Rohde would run that old light board in the lobby. It was a show in and of itself during Brel. He would use his hands, his elbows, his shoulders, his knees, his butt, and most of all, he used his heart. So, Bob, thank you for your extraordinary gift. And to John Hemsath, who also started his career here and just ended his career here. He started by doing the coat check. You must have done very well in tips because It's extraordinary what's happened to this place. And then, of course, to all of those shining faces that were there at Jacques Brel, those young students who worked serving the tables under Sally Winter's guidance, they all felt that the reason the audience was coming was because of them, and they were right. And then, of course, who else could have added the mystique to a French cabaret review better than a Chinese restaurant under the head of Paul Hamm and his beloved egg rolls, which were better than any French souffle. So to all of them, I thank you. And we are indebted, of course, and deeply honored to all of the colleagues who just made this the most extraordinary journey of all of our lives. You know, we have left simply a footprint in the sand. What Art Falco and all of those of you who have followed have built an odyssey that's extraordinary. I hear that we say that we are the largest art center outside of New York City. It is my wish and my dream that someday we will say we are the preeminent art center in the world. Keep in mind, you know, for the last 10 years, David and I have had the privilege of traveling literally all over the world on cruise ships, and we have seen all of the great art centers in the world, from Sydney to Singapore and from Hong Kong to London. And let me tell you, there is no complex to compare to this. No one has an idea center. No one has a television station, radio stations, and one of the most sophisticated and loving groups of staff that any theater has had in the world. So it is my wish. I mean, you are all certainly a part of Playhouse Square with your gifts, your generosity, your leadership, but I hope you will create a think tank. Thinking doesn't cost anything. And, you know, Stanislavski gave us in the theater that mystical phrase, the magic if. And if only we could say, what if Playhouse Square did this? What if Playhouse Square could take that giant step of really entering in the world? I want you to remember many years ago when we were very poor, after Brel closed, Ray Shepardson said, okay, Garry, you got to come up with something else. I can only afford 2 actors, I can't pay any royalties, and there can't be any scenery. And it's got to be as good as Jacques Brel. And so we set off and created Irish Rascal. And very early on, we played it in this, thank you for remembering. We played it in this space. There were no seats, it was a shell. And I said, Raymond, how can you put tables there? You know, the drinks are going to slide off the table. And he said, well, let them hold their drinks. And then, of course, it was the brilliant Oliver Henkel who said when the show opened it had rave reviews, and Peter Bellamy said lightning does strike twice, so Raymond was pleased with that and I didn't get fired. But the end result was we were offered the opportunity of going to the Edinburgh Festival. And keep in mind, we were just worried about making ends meet and keeping salaries current every week. And Oliver said, we will find the money to do this. We took it to the Edinburgh Festival. It became the hit of the festival. It was moved to the National Theatre of Scotland, and it was profiled by the BBC saying it was the major event at the festival that year. That was Playhouse Square in its infancy. Think of what Playhouse Square can do in its future. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very honored to be here, and thank you all. I would like to share with you some of Jacques Brel's final words in the last year of his life when he lived in the Marquesa Islands. And he, at that point, was dying of lung cancer and had retired from the stage, but he never stopped writing songs and poetry. Beyond the filth stretching before us, beyond the wrinkled eyes and the soft faces which reach out in vain, beyond the fists, far from the frontiers of barbed wire, far from the misery, we must look. We must listen to the bird deep in the forest, to the murmur of summer in the blood that rises in us, to the mother's cradles, to the children's prayers, to the sounds of the land. which sleep sweetly beneath our feet. We must look at whatever is beautiful, the sky, gray or blue, the girls on the seashore, the friend you know is faithful, the sunshine of tomorrow, the flight of the swallow, the return of the boat. But I wonder, are we all always able to look clearly? Of course, the wars continue raging in foreign lands across the sea. Of course, our souls continue aging through hatred of our enemies. Hatred, of course, should have no meaning. We try to block it with good cheer, but towards that hatred we keep leaning. That's why my eyes are filled with tears. This hatred soon turns to stagnation, this incapacity to give. Too soon, the train is at the station before we've had time to forgive. Of course, time goes by much too quickly, and the truth fulfills our greatest fears. By now, our souls are turning sickly, and that's why my eyes are filled with tears. Of course, our nightmares keep on calling before the play comes to an end, and we seem surprised the curtain is falling on things we cannot comprehend. Of course, some loves will disappoint us, like some forgotten souvenir. Then passion finally deserts us. That's why my eyes are filled with tears. Of course, the mirrors fail in blending the creeds and races of all men, and yet we still go on pretending that this mad holocaust will end. Of course, all men should be like brothers, but we can find no volunteers, and so we turn upon each other, and that is why my eyes are filled with tears. But when you have only love to share on the great voyage of life, when you have only love to help you keep your promises and no other wealth but believing in them always, when you have only love as your only song, your only hope, your only relief, when you have only love to offer like a troubadour for the wrongs of the world, and when you have only love to silence the guns with and only love to convince a drum with, then, my friends, without having anything except the strength of loving, we will have in our hands the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe and David. Wonderful. Elaine Hadden, one of our community's most respected civic leaders and philanthropists. Lainey was president of the Junior League at a crucial time in PlayhouseSquare's history. 5 days after that front-page article written by Bill Miller, she led the Junior League's members to vote in favor of contributing $25,000 to delay the wrecking ball, and her husband influenced 5 others to match that contribution dollar for dollar. $25,000 was a lot of money in those days, still is. With Ray Shepardson, other civic leaders in the Junior League, she formed the not-for-profit PlayhouseSquare Association as a social club for the purpose of accepting memberships and presenting performances in the unrenovated theaters. She and her husband John contributed much of their time and their own money to the project, and Lainey has continued to be a champion of PlayhouseSquare for all these years. She is a force of nature and our brightest star. Lainey.
You think I need that? You never can tell.
Right.
Oh, this is wonderful. I may never come down. After this night, I may never come down. Can you believe this? Ray, Joe, David, Marianne. This is how the other side of the rainbow looks. And the dreams that you dared to dream really do come true. I am so proud to be a part of this. Don't give me all that credit, because behind me was the Junior League with its incredibly intelligent, hardworking, civically concerned women. And that's what impelled things. That was some of the volunteers who came here. And with me was a wonderful Will York Newman, forgive me, but she was such a friend, such a fundraiser, and it was a pleasure to work with her. Sometime when we were drooping at the end of the day, she'd say, you know, we'll look back and say, this is the happiest time of our life. And actually, she was right. There was my family, my husband, and Kesey and Allie, and they were fans of this. We saw it 27 times, but of Jacques Brel, but there were other people, particularly judges, who came down and see it 30 times, 40 times. That's what warmed your heart. So actually, we didn't have to look at all that asphalt down Euclid Avenue. And the idea of that parking lot as the best thing to do with these theaters is sort of like the adaptive use of the Parthenon for explosives that the Turks endorsed. We were so lucky to get this, but Ray, you were lucky to get us all. And he came and explained things to the Junior League. This was long before, which seemed like an overnight sensation and money being handed out. And where a lot of people were saying, he's a visionary, it can never happen, sort of like Peter Bellamy. They said, this is not a visionary, this is somebody with a magnificent obsession. And tonight we are standing in the result of that magnificent obsession. PlayhouseSquare brought me some of my best friends, the best days of my life, the best thing that could happen to this city, and that it is going forward with so many terrific people. This is the ineffable magic of PlayhouseSquare. It attracts wonderful people. And in the last few days, I've been talking to various of them, and they are still the stellar people who make things happen. So Art, to you and your wonderful team, every best wish, and thank you for honoring me for doing the best thing I've ever done. Bless you.
Thank you, Lainey. That was beautiful. Ray Shepardson. Call it luck or call it fate, Ray Shepardson was undoubtedly in the right place at the right time when, as an employee of the Cleveland Board of Education, he was looking for a suitable meeting space for teachers and came across a series of abandoned theaters. With incredible foresight and vision, he believed that restoring and revitalizing those theaters would transform downtown Cleveland. His powers of persuasion convinced others that the theaters were an irreplaceable resource. And we think you would all agree that he has been proven absolutely right. Following a grueling 7-year run of presenting 200 to 300 performances each year before the theaters were fully restored, Ray went on to play starring roles in theater restoration projects in Columbus, Detroit, St. Louis, and has consulted on more than 35 major restoration projects all over the country. Always fondly remembered is that crazy 26-year-old farm boy from rural Washington state. Ray may have best been described with these words from Lainey Hadden. Ray is a divine madman who had the charisma to save downtown Cleveland when nobody else would. Ray?
Thanks, a lot, Art, for letting me follow this. That's what I needed. What the hell? Anyway, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but a few months ago, I guess it's now, Art calls me and said they want to honor a few of the early visionaries. And I go, oh my God. What Art probably knows but didn't realize is that I also knew that visionary is code word to developers, broke, idiot. But I didn't say anything. I said, oh, that's so sweet. And Art, I want to say it's so sweet that you let me follow. Yeah, it is. And they also didn't tell me that I had an opportunity to say something, because people never let me say something, because I frequently use very bad language. But I think most of these folks have heard. But what was wonderful about PlayhouseSquare is that I made all my mistakes at PlayhouseSquare, or most of them anyway, and it allowed me to go all over the country to do fabulous things after I screwed things up here. So, but what is so, I'm very uncomfortable because so many people, this seems like a Jacques Brel show. So many of you folks, so many people have done so much to make this. I mean, I'm totally blown away, and it's just amazing. I continue to pretend like if it wasn't for me, none of this would have happened. But anyway, God bless you for coming tonight. Keep supporting PlayhouseSquare. And by the way, you do have a genius as your head dude here. He's amazing, and he's just amazing. Anyway, thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, Ray. But if it wasn't for all of you, there would be nothing to build upon. So you were the rock, the foundation that really got it started, and we're deeply grateful to all of you. So in closing, I should add that we believe PlayhouseSquare to this day still represents the world's largest theater restoration project, at least until someone else comes along and says that we're not. So we'll continue that. So on behalf of the PlayhouseSquare staff, board, and volunteers, and I think I can speak for the community, downtown Cleveland, and for all of the audiences and students that have been touched by attending performances in our beautiful theaters, please join me in thanking our honorees for their vision, passion, commitment, and perhaps a little chutzpah. So this really concludes the evening. We're going to leave the bar open if you'd like to celebrate with our honorees for a last drink or so. And what I failed to mention is thank you again for all of your financial support, because without your financial support, we couldn't do all the good things that we are able to do. So thank you very, very much, and have a good evening.